Good morning. Welcome to Let's Get Growing. We're in the greenhouse today. The end of March now. Season is gearing up. Things are growing. Things need to be transplanted. Things need to have cuttings taken, etc., etc. We're going to do a few different things today. 3 different things. First of all, we're going to go back and we're going to look at the air layering that we did a few weeks back with our rubber plant. You can see we air layered this stem, and since we air layered it, it's actually grown 2 brand new leaves and got a wonderful new growth starting, and it's actually looking better than the stem that we didn't air layer. So I think we've probably got a decent clump of roots growing in here, so we're going to take it off and have a look and see what our root situation is. If we've got enough roots in here, then yeah, we're going to go right ahead and remove it from the plant, pot it up, and start ourselves a new rubber plant. Just get the saran wrap off, and we'll see if we do have some root growth. Pretty sure we do. I haven't looked at it, so this is the big unveiling. We'll see what happens. If it's not fully rooted, then we can always just rewrap it and leave it for a while longer. So we get rid of all that stuff. Sort of tease away the moss, and let's see if we've got some root. Nope, nothing. Didn't want to send out any root at all. So we'll rewrap that and we'll come back and visit again. Certainly made the top grow well though. Alright. Next thing we're going to talk about. Had a question on the radio yesterday about pinching seedlings, when to pinch, how to pinch, etc., things like that. And it really depends. Depends a lot on how the plant grows. For example, let me pull this particular salvia. Grows a nice rosette, so, and seedling's too small. Nothing to pinch there yet. Ready to be transplanted. One thing that I brought out that will need a pinch now is our sweet peas. So our sweet peas were started about the end of January. So these guys might have even been a little bit. Let me just double check. I think I have the dates on here still. No, actually February 21st. So we're really just a month old, maybe a month and a week old for these sweet peas. They've been transplanted, they've been staked, they're growing really, really well. This week, because the temperatures are starting to balance a little bit, the sweet peas will be moving out to the unheated greenhouse. So they're going to be out in a cold frame where they're protected from frost hitting them, but they're not really protected from cold temperatures. That's going to allow the plants to harden off, and then we can get our sweet peas in the next couple of weeks. They love the cooler weather. They love to get rooted in that cooler weather, so we'll use them then. But they're really at a point now that they've been transplanted. They're about 6 to 8 inches tall. If you take a plant, let me just, anyone here, doesn't really matter. Maybe this one shows it a bit better. If you look at this plant, you can see we've got good strong growth here upright, but just one stem. If you look down at the base here, we've got 2 new side shoots developing here and here. We want to encourage these because when we plant out our sweet peas, we don't just want one stem growing up the trellis. And that's what will happen if we don't do anything now. So we very simply just go in, we look at where that leading stem is going up, and we're going to just trim off the top little bit. That little pinch there interrupts the upright growth and forces these buds and other buds to start to grow. So what that one little pinch will do is makes the plant fuller, and when you get it out into the garden, you have a much bigger plant right away. More stems means more flowers. Plain and simple. That same thing works with just about anything. Any plant that grows a stem and you want to make bushier will do exactly the same thing. You can always just pinch out the growing tip and cause side branching. So we'll go through and do all of the sweet peas like that. We'll just take the top, you know, half an inch to an inch off them. It's a very quick little job.
So Jeff, one of the questions that was asked on Instagram or Facebook, I can't remember, was about if you're pinching some things, can you make other plants from them?
Well, sometimes. These pinches are way too small and the growth is way too soft and young to do anything with. So that's just compost. We don't worry about that. If you were making a pinch on a bigger plant, you can sometimes make that pinch into a cutting. That is very possible. Could I show you one of salvia? I could grab a salvia here and show you real quick. So here's a great example. These are some salvias that we've grown. We do the cuttings really early so the plants get blooming earlier. So it's been sitting in a tray of 2.5 inch pots, and you can see I haven't done anything to it. So the growth is very strong and upright, and because the plants have been all packed together, they've just been encouraged to grow upright because they don't have much space. But if you look down here, you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stems wanting to grow from this point. So what I'd actually do with this is I'd take a bit more of an exaggerated pinch and actually take a cutting, cut the stem right here. That's going to go into a bigger pot. That's going to be a huge plant when it's ready to go out into the garden this spring. But I then have this huge piece that is sturdy, it's mature, it's coming into bloom. There I could take several cuttings. Now you can do them a couple of different ways, of course. Cut off just below a node, right there. Take those two little shoots off, take that leaf off. You have a node here where the leaves and shoots were growing, that's where roots are going to grow from. We could take this as just one cutting and leave it really big if we wanted to. We could do it this way. Take that as a cutting and do it that way. Very simple. If I was looking to really increase, then I could do a couple of different things with a salvia especially. Anything in the mint family will root off the stem. So you could always just take that one. Then you've got two nodes, or two stem buds and a node. There's a great cutting. But you can also take this. It's an internodal cutting is what it's called, because you have a node at the top, but no node at the bottom. Some plants will root along the stem, and you don't need a node at the bottom. So you could then take this stem and do it again here. There's another internodal cutting, and we might even be able to squeeze one here. That'd be another internodal cutting. So we just got 4 cuttings off that one salvia, and it's going to be an 8-branched plant when we put it out in the garden. So you could do it that way, not a problem. Got a trippy greenhouse today. Internodal cuttings work well, but they're slower, so keep that in mind. You will always get faster rooting if you have a node berry. Some plants won't grow from an internodal, so be careful of that. But there are a number of plants that will, and most vines will. A clematis, if you were doing a clematis cutting, it would look just like that. Just like that right there. And actually what you'd probably do, if you had that little bud growing, you'd probably take one of them off, just so the stem is not supporting too much foliage. It makes it easier for the plant to get through the rooting process. We do it with coleus. We've got trays of coleus right here. These were mostly tip cuttings, but there's an internodal cutting right there. You can see it's got 2 stems on it already. Quite a thick piece. And here, we'll just take a look. So here we go. That's rooting right off the base of that stem there. It's even sending off a little bit of root from the node that was the top bit. If you bury that cutting deep enough, you can get rooting right from there. So something to think about and keep open mind when you're doing, especially things like things out of the mint family, like salvia, coleus. They're all related to mint, and they're all pretty easy rooting plants.
Oh, there you were. Okay, go lie down.
All right, next thing we're going to look at is what to do with those seedlings that you've been growing in your house that really stretched out on you. And this gets to be a real problem. Keeping things in the house can be difficult. Light levels are low. Warmth levels generally higher. But it's a lot to do with the light. So I've got some kale seedlings, and these should have been transplanted a couple of days ago, but now they've really stretched. And this is pretty common to what you'll see when you're growing seedlings indoors, as you get a long, stretched out stem before your leaves appear. It's very normal, but it's not the end of the world. You can see these Tithonias. They've been in the greenhouse. They've even done the exact same thing. So you can see they've germinated, but then we get a stretch here. Our seed leaves are here. Our first new leaves are starting to come out. But this is often what our seedlings look like indoors. So we're going to fix this. And I'm going to use the dinosaur kale here. So dinosaur kales, you can eat them when they're small. These we transplant and grow on because we use them as ornamentals as well, because they are very ornamental. I love the look of them. Don't like the taste of them much. So we take our little block of seedlings out of here, and when you're transplanting seedlings, very important that that stem does not get damaged. So you're going to grab this one really tall kale from the side of the grouping, and we can just tease it out gently. And there we go. So there's our seedling right now. It's got a stem, it's got seed leaves, that's these ones, and it's got its first true leaf developing. When you transplant this, you want to fix this problem of height. If you just transplanted that at the same height it is, which is often what's recommended, you're going to have a floppy, really hard to deal with seedlings that will fall over. The stem will get damaged. If it gets pinched or bent, the seedling's done. There's nothing below here to fix the problem. So what you can do, and you can only do this with the elongated stem that goes to the seed leaves, is we can dibble a fairly deep hole. And you want to dibble that hole because you don't want to have to force the seedling into the pot. And then we can drop that seedling down and ease it in until the bottom of the seed leaves are in connection with the soil. And there we have our transplanted seedling correct it. It will grow away just fine like that. We're not burying stem of the upper part of the growing plant. The only thing you really do that with is tomatoes. But you can always bury that little bit of extra stem there. We can even do another one. Gently, always hold them by the leaves. You don't want to pinch the stem. Tease out the seedling so you've got as much of the root as possible. Dibble a nice deep hole in your seedling, your soilless mix. Lower the seedling down in there. Gently ease it in. Firm it in from around the sides, and away you go. That is going to help your seedlings that are overstretched from being indoors or in too warm a spot or in low light. You won't lose them. That'll happen with your peppers, that'll happen with your tomatoes, stuff like that. And they can all be buried to the seed leaves, but not any deeper except for tomatoes. You got any questions today, Laura?
No questions so far.
No questions today? Well, geez, I wish we had some questions because we're kind of done with our examples for today. But that's okay. We'll all get a quick start at our Easter brunch. Have a great week. We'll see you next week on Let's Get Growing.